I knew my records would just completely show the world the truth of how dangerous this lady really is. And clients that are close to her that are probably not really good people in the first place, but that she enhances their abilities under her guidance to do incredibly criminal things.
So this is Adam Steele, and this is actually an ex-client of Jodi Hildebrandt's. And interestingly enough, this is actually the John Doe that has been mentioned quite a few times in documents, whereby Jodi basically got her license suspended. She got it temporarily. It got taken away from her. It then got given back. Excuse me for not using the proper terminology for that one, but this is that John Doe, which I did find extremely interesting, because even before the whole 8-passenger situation occurred, it was kind of common knowledge, if you knew anything about Mums of Truth connections, that Jodi Hildebrandt had a very bad track record with clients, separating husbands, isolating them away from their families. And then this whole John Doe story used to come up quite a lot, because it also coincided with Jodi Hildebrandt being put on probation.
Adam Steed says Jodi Hildebrandt violated his trust when she shared information about his counseling sessions without his permission. Documents we obtained from the state of Utah show Hildebrandt's license was suspended for a time in 2012, and that she admitted to discussing a John Doe's clinical diagnosis without his permission with clergy and 2 other mental health therapists. The documents also say that Hildebrandt admitted to doing this, and that she also shared information with administrators at the John Doe's university. Steed says he is the John Doe listed in these documents.
So according to quite a few news outlets, Jodi Hildebrandt has actually surrendered her license and is placed on limitation to practice. I have read somewhere, I'll throw it up right here, that it's actually been frozen, but according to a few legal heads, people that know about this kind of thing, that is just a procedure. Utah Attorney General Office has been working with Hildebrandt's lawyer to secure the voluntary surrender of her professional license with limitations, ensuring that she cannot practice if released. I feel like this should just all be completely going without saying. This should just be something that it's bound to have happened, especially with everything we now know about her track record with previous clients. I mean, quite a few clients are now coming forward. I mean, her niece has come forward, and the parallels between each and everyone's stories, especially the husbands who were kind of estranged from their wives and separated, it all is too eerily similar. And weirdly enough, I actually did do a video over a year ago now, I'll leave the thumbnail up here, where I was actually going into this John Doe, who's now Adam Steele's character, and what happened there, and the fact that Jodi is up to no good. And people were calling her out on this ages ago, and now it's seriously come to light.
We ended up going to Jodi Hildebrandt at the recommendation of our bishop, and we basically we started our sessions, and I immediately felt uncomfortable with Jodi. I thought she was really weird. I felt like she definitely picked a side very early on who she was gonna believe and who she was gonna not believe, and as I am pretty dang sure a lot of you are aware of, Jodi is a man-hater. So she made me very uncomfortable, but obviously I chose to try.
And I'm only placing so much emphasis on Jodi because I feel like a lot of people for a long time have always commented on how Ruby and Kevin were towards their children, very distant, very used quite extreme methods of punishment. Do you know what I mean? Like things that obviously were not okay. Now, because all of this is coming out, I feel like we need to really shine a light on what the hell happens when you have a therapist who is clearly going through some weird power control. I mean, their niece said themselves that Jodi quite literally thought that she was sent from above or sent from somewhere to rid the world of Satan. That isn't my words. That is their own words. And these were Jodi's words.
The depths of abuse that were going on, but they trusted her and they trusted the church, and the church was very much involved. My Bishop Bangader, knew what was happening and trusted Jodi, and everyone just trusted her that, Jesus was, without any hyperbole, literally working through her. Believed that, she believed that her work, that she was combating Satan every day in preparation for the second coming. And she believed, because my grandfather had a patriarchal blessing saying that he was going to work directly for Jesus on this earth. And so he always believed that the second coming was going to happen in his lifetime. But she used kind of that patriarchal, that language to also fuel her stuff of like, the second coming is so close. I'm like going to be the one of the people that, welcomes God back, or
ushers in the second coming of Jesus. Yeah.
But and again, these are not theoretical. These are not like hypothetical. She believed these in literal, actual. This is all very literal to her. That God literally was going to come and thank her for all of her hard work and all of the good that she has done, because she is fighting tooth and nail on the front lines of Satan. And how do you argue with that?
So what are you going to get when you combine someone like that with someone like Ruby Franke, who we already know had a bit of an edge to her? It's going to end in absolute disaster. And the more people are coming out and talking about it, the more extreme it is. So I'm going to move on to something that you guys are probably aware of. This was actually at the point of me finding this out that I thought, you know what? I'm going to take the weekend off. I was going to do it anyway, but this solidified it. I was like, I am taking the weekend off. This is just too much. So it's what they found in Jodi Hildebrandt's house.
We now know what multiple search warrants served on that property reveal.
So this is going to have a little trigger warning right here, because the stuff that they found and the things that they realised after chatting to one of the children really is quite horrible to listen to. But I feel like this is extremely important to talk about, especially if we're talking about Jodi Hildebrandt. It has also been proven that Ruby Franke would have known 100% that this was happening to her own children, as the timeline was shown that, they were recording videos during this time period within Jodi Hildebrandt's residence. So Ruby would have known. Totally, she would have known. So in total, I believe 3 separate search warrants were used. So the very first one was when they actually found the children. It said the victim informed officers and medical personnel that the wounds were from the rope that was used to tie the victim to the ground. The victim informed officers that Jodi put the ropes on their ankles and wrists, and that they used cayenne pepper and honey to dress their wounds. This was also followed up by saying that while cayenne pepper has long been an ingredient used for medicinal purposes, it should not be used on cracked skin or open wounds. Yeah, I mean, I feel like this just absolutely goes without saying. So they also found the safe room as well, which I wasn't even quite sure if that was verified or not, because people are saying 2 separate things. But according to this article, they found a safe room and they wanted to be able to gain access to it. According to the return of the search warrant, officers seized Scott's tape and saran wrap, along with papers, notes, a journal, 2 bowls containing a red liquid with a metal spoon, 2 super absorbent dressings, 2 Coben bandages with 4 white ankle socks, 3 sets of brown and white rope, 2 handcuffs, and 3 carabiners. And then it also said that there was no further mention of the safe room. So like I say, is the safe room confirmed? Is it not confirmed? I'm not sure, because I have heard that it may have been coming off from a different call. So I'm really not sure, and I don't really want to comment on it too heavily. They then had a second search warrant was signed just before 5:30 p.m, August 30th, with a request for any and all cell phones, audio recordings, computer, tablets, laptops, surveillance footage, doorbell cameras, and any other communicational device. Now, I think that if the public is open to knowing what comes out of any of this, I think what they will find is going to be really quite shocking. Obviously, that's not what I'm banking on. That's not in any way what I'm hoping for. I really do think that if they go through all of this, which they obviously have the power to do so, they have the capability to do so, then what they're going to uncover is going to be absolutely horrible. And I don't know whether or not they're going to share that information to the public or not. I'm kind of hoping that they don't, if it's pertaining exactly to the children, if it's showing them being mistreated, etc. It says that the warrant specifically requests to obtain any devices from Jodi Hildebrandt or her home where she may have had communication with Ruby Franke, and then goes on to say that 3 Apple iPhones and 4 Apple Macs computers were seized. That is a lot of Apple product. Not that it being Apple really has to be relevant to anything. What I mean to say is that that's a lot of devices. To be honest with you, especially if they're running the kind of business that they are, why do you need that many phones? Why do you need that many laptops? I think anyone who has that amount of devices for like one person can't be up to any good. Maybe that's me being quite judgmental, but unless you're operating a massive business with a lot of different workers, why do you have all of that? They then obtained a 3rd search warrant, was signed the day after officers arrived at the home, and they basically wanted Jodi's iPhone, requested Jodi Hildebrandt's iPhone, saying she was in possession of the phone when officers made contact with her, but they're unsure if the phone was actually seized in the end. I mean, because she's in jail, doesn't that mean the jail could have it? Or I really don't understand how it works. I've never been in that position. But this is, like I've been saying, this is dark, this is horrible. It literally made me not even want to look into this for a little while, because it was just a bit too much to have to consume. Ruby would have known exactly what was going on here. They're both equally to blame. I'm not, by just talking about Jodi, saying that, that Ruby is somehow exempt from any of this, wound dressing incident. No, it like I've already said, it has been proven that they were both recording actually within the building. That's not being human. You're not a human being if you're able to inflict that kind of pain on anyone else, let alone a child. And that's pretty much all I have to say about it. It's disgusting.
Kevin was attending men's groups that were facilitated by Jodi, and during those groups, he was being downgraded and diminished, and told how bad he was, and that he needed to repent, and that the best way to repent was to not infect his family with his problems, and so that's why you need to stay away. He wasn't the only one in those men's groups that was undergoing exactly what he was undergoing.
Now, Kevin Franke's attorney has been doing quite a lot of runs recently. Some people are less than impressed with them. Other people kind of want to hear his side of the story. I've listened to this one twice because I did find it quite interesting, especially now that all this information is coming out about people's testimonies to do with being a husband client of Jodi's. And whether you want to believe it or not, similarities between what everyone's saying, it is really there. Am I excusing the fact that he literally didn't have any contact with those children for 13 months? No. And I've said this from the very beginning. I think that it would be something that no one could ever get me to do, even if you were trying to save a marriage. I don't get it. I don't understand how that would even be recommended to you.
Represents right here is the first session at the bottom. She has both of you guys together, both the husband and the wife. And then she breaks you off into the wife has an individual session and the husband has an individual session. And then you end up going to the men's group for the husband and the women's group for the wife. And up there at the top is a $sign representing Jodi making a crap ton of money.
But according to the testimonials that have come out recently, and according to the reviews which Jodi has accumulated on her website over the past 5 years, it's literally a similar story every single time. And I personally struggle to understand how anyone could be told to stay away from their family and kids. But it's not just happened to Kevin, it's happened to other people. Is that excusing it? No, I'm not excusing it. I'm just pointing out that this has now become a trend. And I don't get it. If anyone told me that the way to work on my marriage was to leave my wife and children, that the wives were basically being left in Jodi's capable hands, they were being spoon-fed all this stuff whilst the husbands were kept away from their kids and wives. And this is just something that has been a recurring theme. It's ultra strange. And yeah, she was being recommended by the church. She was. That's not me being anti-church or me being anti-religion. That is literally what people have been saying. and it's something which is now common knowledge. She was being recommended. And it's all extremely precarious, but Kevin and Ruby were clients of Jodi, and he did attend some of the groups. Just don't understand how this one lady seems to have this amount of power. It's like something out of a comic book. It's so dystopian how this could even happen, how this many men can be brainwashed, like, and the wives be brainwashed away from the... I just find that difficult. I don't understand how anyone could leave their kids for that long, even if they were being consulted by being given professional advice. Professional advice? That's not professional. In what universe is that professional advice? It's just not it. What, no contact for 13 months? Couldn't do it, would never do it, would never go, oh yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Why is no one looking at the track record of Jodi? For Jodi to come along and kind of plant the seed, and then away we go. I'm not being dramatic. This is quite honestly what people have been saying. And I just find it unbelievable how this has gotten to this point. But I feel like more people need to come out. I feel like the authorities need to get on and recover what they can from the electronic devices that were around. But more importantly, I feel like the kids and what's going to be happening with them, etc., like people have been saying, the court case be sealed. I do still think that would be, even if it is only in the kind of custodial court, I still think that would be the greatest idea. It doesn't get any easier learning about this case, and it must have been absolutely hell for those children. Anyway, I'm going to head off right now, but I hope you guys have a wonderful day wherever you are in this world. Take care of each other, take care of yourselves, and I'll catch up with you guys in the next video.